It is 9:53 a.m. and yeah, I'm still trying to get used to the idea of focusing on listed stocks over OTCs. I did have two setups here that actually worked, and I didn't trade any of them. I just really hesitated. They're just kind of scary because OTCs, they kind of trade slow. Everything's in slow motion for the most part. And these are just very jumpy, and the spread can be very wide, or at least when it uptrends, it has a very wide range like this one. The bottom of the candle is 251, and then the very top is 262, which is, a pretty big difference in terms of percent difference. I did have a consideration here. It looked like a higher low off of this level where it had like this bottom right here and it had a crazy wick, and we had this downtrend right here, but I never got as low as it did here with this extreme wick. So I did consider an entry at like 250, and then very quickly it's already trading back and forth, and this one did get to VWAP the 260s, and that's all it did here. And then I did have a consideration here because it was an inverse head and shoulders, a shoulder head, and then the shoulder right here, not including the wick. And I considered an entry with my risk level being this 252 level or maybe even 245. And this one also just very quickly started the work and even had this excessive wick all the way up here into the $3 range. So there's definitely opportunity with listed stocks. They're just very scary because they could also like just dramatically fail. I could be in the setup right here, and then it just breaks the level, and then it's all of a sudden in the 240s very quickly. But I do like how there is just so much more opportunity with listed stocks compared to OTCs right now. This one's up, is not really doing anything. This one I haven't really spent too much time looking at it, but maybe this can be like a head and shoulders dip buy. So like the shoulder, the head, maybe it drops and plays off a VWAP, tries to find a bottom somewhere, and that can be a buy with a shoulder to sell into ideally, but it's like the one that's least likely to work out because sometimes they don't really uptrend that much or look as nice as the other shoulder. And this one isn't doing anything. This OTC selling off. So that's pretty much it for right now. Just two setups that I could have taken, but I'm still trying to adjust. And yeah, it seems pretty good. I hope I can really get a good grasp on it very quickly. I did have a few trades, but I'm just really surprised as to how well they work. Okay, it's 12:03. I did have a trade with AUVI, and it was a little frustrating, but I feel a bit better now, and I'm gonna go ahead and go over the trade. And yeah, it just feels like compared to looking at OTCs, my focus was just to make money, find good setups, and trade them. But now that I'm trying to do listed stocks, is really just trying to get good at it and understand it. These are the kind of things where you have to really be in before a setup works or fails. Sometimes with OTCs, you can be in a setup right when it looks like it's about to do it, and then you can be in, and then the chances that it's going to play out is very high. But at least with listed stocks, that seems to not be possible because then you're going to be chasing the stock, and then if it fails, you're going to be in at a really bad price. You have to really get in the setup before it either works or fails. There's no point where you can get in right as it's starting to work because they can have like a really wide, uptrend from where you're thinking about. I did have a trade here. This one didn't work out. I had these two trend lines, and this one stinks because it did work out just right after I got out. But I did take a buy. This was at 1024, so right here at 156.7, so roughly around this level. And I was liking how since the market opened, it had a dip under VWAP, and then it had this dip that was a bit higher than here. And then I thought this might have been something too, where it's going to be a baby higher low, and it can try to uptrend. And the goal would be that it would get to VWAP and then maybe above VWAP, and then we have like this range right here in the 170s in the very top, which is 180, where it can try to make a run towards. And that's exactly what happened here, but unfortunately, I had it right here when I was in the position, and I did get out at 1026 when it was breaking this range low, and it only got a little bit lower. And I figured that, it could still work, but I thought maybe it's less likely going to work if we had like this downtrend here with just wicks, and now we have like the bottom of actual candles at the same level. It wasn't really as nice, a little bit more bearish, less likely going to work out, but it did work out. It got to VWAP, and then it got above VWAP to this 170 level. And then once it was starting the downtrend here, I was looking at this for an inverse head and shoulders, an uptrending inverse head and shoulders too. Again, playing off of VWAP, the shoulder ahead and now the shoulder right here, trading around that VWAP level. And I was in that position where normally with an OTC setup, I might try to enter when it gets to like 165 once it shows that it's starting to do it, right? But the way this one, in general, trades back and forth, especially listed stocks, just kind of, it was kind of nerve-wracking. And then it really worked and it shot up, and I just felt really frustrated for missing out on that one. And it did make a move above this 180 wick, which was really impressive, into the 190s, when I could have had that potential of being in at like 164. So that was pretty impressive. Really stinks that I missed out on a few setups. Again, this one I missed out on. This one I was close. I was on the right track. Just had one more drop before it worked out. And normally I think something like this wouldn't have worked out because it went from wicks to bottoms of candles. It could have rejected VWAP and sold off like a lot of stocks do on this first green day, especially if it's on a gap up. And then this one is interesting. I didn't really have an interest of trading it, but it did have a nice uptrend once it was able to hold above VWAP and the momentum changed. And yeah, this was the setup I was thinking about right here and right here. No way I would have held this long. This would have been something I would have sold into this uptrend right here above VWAP. But I do like how this is similar in that it had a dip under VWAP, a higher low under VWAP, and now it was above VWAP for the most part, if you don't count these two wicks. And then it really turned around when the momentum was there. So I like how VWAP is very important with listed stocks as well. I hope I can be able to get some of these setups and not trade the ones that don't work and miss out on the ones that do work. Hopefully that can turn around and, my bad luck with that can go away. Yeah, a lot of learning, a lot of experience. I don't think there's going to be anything that I'm interested in trading. Obviously, something like this one could just turn around, hold above VWAP, and also make a move towards the high, and it will be the right time. But I think the momentum with this one just dried up, but it could totally do something like that. That's pretty much about it. I was looking at Rivian. I did go over this briefly for like a dip buy for a head and shoulders. Unfortunately, this thing was just a very quick drop to the VWAP level, and then there wasn't really a good point to have been long for that head and shoulders. But in theory, it did work. I could have been in the 1850s, and then it did get as high as the 1869 level, almost 1870. And then the head and shoulders did play out. It broke under VWAP. The momentum turned around, but I haven't really been looking at it since. It's kind of interesting how it's following this trend line as well right here. And then I was looking at this one for the same setup, and this one just failed. It just isn't that nice when you look at a longer term chart. It just didn't really have the maybe longer term technical analysis behind it to really play out. And this one just made the shoulder that had in it sold off, unless you want to count this as the dip buy for the shoulder, which isn't really that nice. That's it. I don't think I'm going to trade anything, but there were a few setups. Really a lot of setups, honestly, and I hope I can be able to trade these and be profitable. I might not even be able to trade for the next few days because I have jury duty, unless I'm not called. So that's going to stink if that ends up playing out, but that's fine. God willing, I can be able to be a part of it. I think that's it for right now. I might do a recap to see what it eventually does by the time the market is closed, but that's it for now. Okay, it's 8:57 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be down on the day $2.37. Really stinks because I felt like I was really on the right track with a lot of the setups. Again, this was the one that I traded right here. Just broke the range a little. I hate being on the right track and then I still lose money, but I'm glad I guess I was still on the right track because it made a super nice uptrend that I could have in theory been a part of. And then it did that inverse head and shoulders right here. And then with that other stock with BuzzFeed, this one did do the thing right here in the morning. And that was also something cool to look at. I hope in the future I can be able to really capitalize on these and not feel so dumb or just out of luck. This one is interesting because it had a super nice uptrend, and then Rivian of another EV stock really uptrended. So it feels like I just really missed out on this one for a long-term setup because I was looking at the inverse head and shoulders and it ended up playing here and I wasn't filled. And then I guess I did like a higher low off of this support level of 18, and now I got as high as 21. So yeah, I feel like I'm just on the freaking wrong track, missing out. What can I say? Just really stinks. But At least I guess the summons I had to show up for jury duty didn't happen because I guess I don't know, the court case happened. Um, or I mean didn't happen. The court case was just settled or whatever. It just didn't become the thing where I had to show up for jury service anymore. So at least I can be here in theory, God willing, on Monday. But yeah, I just feel like I really messed up today. Pretty frustrating too, but at least the bar is set low, I guess, for Monday. That's it for today.